All right, let's call the meeting to order, September 7th, 2022, Washington County Fair Board. And as we start the meeting, we realize that Gary Seidel, me, I'm present. Andy Dyke is present. Bill Ganger is present. AJ is present. Bob is present. And Jerry is present. And if Mitch comes on, we'll introduce Mitch, but we do have a quorum, so we're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is the first time where the audience may address the board. This opportunity is limited to 2 minutes per individual. Maximum time for oral communications period 1 is 10 minutes. We do have another longer oral communications at the end of the agenda for those who need to speak, and it's 5 minutes for a maximum time of 30 minutes. Is there anybody that would wish to speak to the board?
If you wish to speak to the board, please raise your hand and we will allow you to speak. Nobody's raising their hand.
Okay, perfect. Then we will continue on to reports. And we do have the financial reports for fiscal year 21-22. That was in our package. Did everybody have a chance to review that? And does anybody have any questions on the financials for 21-22? Jerry.
Well, of course, Leah would be depressed if I didn't ask some questions about the financials. So I take it as my responsibility.
Good job. I would be worried.
Well, actually, Leah, I think you usually, and I don't know, maybe I'm getting ahead of you here, you usually kind of talk about, because the current financials for just the month of July are pretty incomplete as well, and reasonably so, because, you know, all the bills probably haven't been processed and those things. So, but there were a couple of pretty significant deviations from the June 30 financials year end to budget. So I was just asking maybe if you could address that. I mean, we actually budgeted a loss and came out with a pretty significant gain, but I never know if there's some June stuff or something that actually applies to this year's fair and those kinds of things. So,
Yep.
So go ahead.
I'm happy to chat about it. So we, just so everybody's on the same page, we are working on the, and by the way, Mitch just joined us. This is the last fiscal year's financials ending on June 30th of 2022, which is the 2021 county fair. So I just want to make sure everybody understands that the financial that we're working on is last fiscal year's. And as a reminder, when we put the budget together for the 2021 fair, we were still in the pandemic. We were actually still shut down when we put that budget together. And it was we hadn't done a 10-day fair yet. So a lot of it was just trying to figure out what the budget should look like, what we were going to be able to do. And as you know, the 2021 fair was very successful and we did very well. So the ending fund balance for the fair, for the fiscal year for ending 2021, 2022 was very positive, and we had a really good year and things went really well. So, but, you know, compared to the budget that we put together, again, you know, a budget usually is wrong the minute you put it on paper, and we put it together on paper during a pandemic when we were shut down. But I'm happy to answer any specific questions as well.
I don't have Go ahead.
So I have actually kind of a question and maybe just clarification being new. I was looking at the July, and I just briefly kind of looked at both budgets a few minutes ago, and one of those things that stood out was it's line item 51-285, professional services. And July of 2021 was budgeted 144,000, and then August was 258,000, which is, you know, over $400,000 in expenditure. And then for July 2022, it was only 43,000. I was just kind of curious why such a great, either great savings or why the great difference in that particular
So July 2022, we hadn't really paid much of any entertainment yet. You will see a very different amount for August of 2022. So these are not monthly budget amounts. This is monthly expenditures. So the budget, you know, is on the very right-hand side. That is the total of the whole 12 months for that line item. So in July of 2021 and August of 2021, those are the two amounts that we paid out for those professional services. And then we haven't paid very many professional services for the 2022 fair yet because the fair didn't end until July 31st and bills did not start rolling in until August. We're still getting bills rolling in. So
Well, I guess, and forgive me, I just trying to get a clarification. What all falls into that category of professional services? Because I know entertainment has its own, aren't all those other ones have their own budget lines?
there are things such as janitorial, electricians. It's a lot of different, it's professional service. Security falls into that. Any service that is being provided to us that's a professional service. So it doesn't fall into a specific other category.
So there'll be expected to be a great number, much greater number in August 2022 budget line for that.
Yeah, the expenditure line item. So again, we're talking about the fiscal year 21-22 financials that ended on June 30th of 2022 for the 2021 fair.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then you're also wanting to compare July and August of 2021 to 1 month, July 2022. So you can't compare those because you don't have an August financial in front of you for 2022.
Right. So if I just look at just the Julys, then why like 144,000 versus in 21 July and then in 22 July 43,000. There's $100,000. Is it just the way it timed out on the billing?
It all depends on when the bills arrive.
Okay. You know, I guess while we're on it and talking about the budget, just because one of our prior to the fair board meetings, I believe it was June, there was quite a bit of, upset people about the camping and the higher expense of camping. And I was looking at the revenue lines and it shows no revenue for camping. So just kind of wonder where that revenue fell.
They show up in August. Yeah, so you won't see it until next month. You'll see it in the August revenue. So the way we earn income, so when the revenue that comes in for camping for the fair of 2022, all the people that paid in May and June, those go into what's called a deferred line item because we didn't earn the money yet. So the money that was paid, we have to hold into a deferred account until we earn the money. So we don't earn the money until July and August. And so then a journal entry has to happen from a deferred account into the active current fiscal year account. And that actually just happened today.
Okay.
So you will see it on the next month's financial.
Any other questions on fiscal year 21-22? If not, can we get a motion to approve it?
I make a motion, we approve it.
Somebody second it?
I'll second it. This is Andy.
Perfect. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Anybody opposed? All right, the fiscal year 21-22 is approved. Now let's go on to the approval of July 2022 fiscal report for fiscal year 22-23.
So like we were just talking about, you're only looking at what happened in July of 2022. So some bills got paid in July of 2022. Some of our income got earned in July of 2022. So, but we will also have income that's showing up in August. So part of the commercial booth rentals, that money that was in deferred gets transferred over by journal entry into August. Parking fees, we didn't deposit the parking money until August. We deposit that money after the fair. We had a little bit of pre-sale parking revenue for vendors ahead of time, which is that little bit of money that you see, the $2,029. But the majority of the parking money for the fair will not show up until August. So you're literally just looking at what happened in the month of July, which is not a lot of activity because the deposits get made in August after the fair is over for like food and beverage, carnival, and almost all the expenses get paid in August as well. August and September. We have 5 outstanding invoices right now that probably won't get paid until October.
Any questions for discussion? Seeing none, can we get approval for the July 2022 fiscal year 22-23 budget?
So move.
Can we get a second?
Second,
Roger that. All approving, please signify by saying yes.
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 Right on.
Yeah.
And anybody opposed? All right. Moving on to educational fund. Bob, do we have anything?
No, we have nothing to report at this time.
Roger that. And fact meeting, Leah just sent me a thing. We've got a fact meeting coming up October 13th at 4:30 to 6 p.m. and it'll be on Zoom as well. So I don't think we have anything from fact to report, do we, Leah?
No, not at this time.
Okay, beautiful. Let's move on to Alan, 4-H.
Howdy, thank you so much again for an awesome 2022 fair. This is my first fair here, and from all indicators, we did well. And we met with Leah and had a good debrief, just myself, Deanne, and Leah. I shared with Leah the results of our survey that we got of feedback. I would say a majority of it was very positive, actionable items. There's some things that we're working towards to making changes for next year to make things a little go smoothly. And I think one area that we're excited about is seeing how the barns are just going to be set throughout the year, and see how we can just work from a set number of pens rather than just kind of seeing where things take us. Another thing that we're doing is we're making efforts as a 4-H program to get a more accurate count on our numbers at the beginning of the year. So that's something that we'll be working on, as well as recruitment. So this October 1st, it's a Saturday, we're actually going to be there at the fairgrounds doing a 4-H open house. So Leah has offered the use of the cloverleaf and the arenas to showcase and just invite the public to interact and actually sign up that day. It's pretty difficult when we're having fair and say, hey, we want to register for 4-H. It's like, yeah, well, we just wrapped up the year. So October is the start of our 4-H year, and we're looking forward to doing that. And that is a majority of it. I will say that I am looking forward to figuring out how we can best bring 4-H horse back to Washington County Fair. It's a huge component of our program, and we want everyone under one roof, so to say. I know that that's going to be on the retreat that I believe is being rescheduled. So anyways, that's all I have for now.
Well, Alan, it was very much appreciated to see all the energy that you have for the fair. It was very nice to see that this year. Job well done.
He did eat a lot of pancakes.
Needed to keep his energy up.
Point out.
That's right. You just
Yeah.
kept feeding me. I mean, it's just in all reality, though, that was very much appreciated. I don't know if that's the first time that we've had everyone together like that, but it really, I was talking to some folks afterwards, and having just that community building, and it's short and sweet, and then we're off to the races to get the day started. That was really awesome.
Yeah, I got a lot of good comments about that same thing. So
That's amazing. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, because usually we don't get to see that because we were over by the trailer where we were cooking breakfast, and you guys were over there at Barnes and all that. So we didn't get to see that. And I'll tell you, this year was really nice to see it and be a part of it.
Yeah, I want to just really acknowledge Alan. That was his idea to, when I was explaining how we used to do it, we had a breakfast in one spot and then there was a morning meeting in a different spot, and it was very disjointed. And when we were talking about setting up that tent outside of the Cloverleaf, his idea was to have the morning meeting and the breakfast all combined. And I think that was a great idea. So add that on the list of things to keep doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
if I can add on real quick there, and just kind of to second Bob's thing, is just the amount. I know after about day 1 or 2, we were almost over budget on breakfast. And a lot of that was, I think it was just much more attendees being, just meeting adjacent, and the amount of volunteers and parents and, whether it be your superintendents or club leaders, there was just one less thing they had to do on a busy fair day. And they were so appreciative. And I know a lot of us fair board members have already heard it, but I think it's worth mentioning again, just the level of appreciation that we receive from the 4-H and FFA.
Yeah, I think your participation probably was likely increased a lot just because of the location. I mean, it was a trek from the Barnes to the old office location. So I think that having it over at the Cloverleaf was a great move forward.
I think it was a great venue. A lot of good feedback from the kids. But the only caveat that I would ask maybe to look at for next year for an improvement is maybe have 8 more tables, seating for 80 more kids, because a lot of them sat on the ground. And with the COVID thing, or the E. coli thing on shoes and everything else, you don't want people sitting on the ground to eat. So we need more tables and chairs.
Roger that. Any other questions for 4-H?
I will point out that the reports were there in the memo as well as to our numbers and then as to our fair budget. So we did go over, again, being the first, I believe this is the first 10-day fair for us as a program as well. But we were really grateful. We are very grateful for your support of the $15,000 so that we can make this whole thing happen. So that is, if you have questions for me on those, I can answer those as well.
I do want to just point out, you're probably not as over as you think you are, because I owe you some more money on some costs that we shared. So probably when all those happen, it's probably going to be right at break even.
Woohoo.
Yeah. So
I
good
think
job.
we got to look at the plus side.
Yeah.
Roger that. Okay, let's move on to old business. County Fair 2022 reports and discussion.
Okay, I am just going to jump right into kind of the staff report. Staff and I had some conversations about what we thought the successes were and the challenges. And then I've got some just general stats for you and a little bit of a media recap that Lisa gave to me, which I thought was really great. So I know we've got a Fair Board retreat coming up, which Alan just mentioned. It's getting rescheduled. We had a couple of conflicts for people's calendars. So I'm going to be sending out, I just verified Commissioner Willie's calendar is available on the date that I am looking at, which is, let me see, October 21st. So please, I will send out an email invite here shortly for Friday, October 21st. We have our facilitator who's actually listening in to this meeting right now, Ben Rowe, who's done some work for us in the past. He's going to be our facilitator. As a reminder, we haven't had a retreat with a strategic plan update since October of 2019. So this will be great for us to get on our calendar. And really, that's when we'll go really in depth. I want to, I'll send you your agenda, but really talk about what the board felt were our, the successes and the challenges. So that's some homework that we're going to give to you guys to really bring back, you know, what your thoughts are about the fair. And we're going to really get and do a deep, deep dive on the 2022 county fair and what we want for the future. So put that on your calendar. It'll be in person here in the Wingspan. So successes, barns were full of open class 4-H and FFA animals, and obviously they were highly enjoyed by the public. I know you were all there in the barns, but every time I walked through the barns, there was a lot of public there enjoying the animals, and the energy was really great. So very much appreciated to have 4-H and FFA back in full force, and the open class was very well received by the public as well. The return of open class home arts and the return of 4-H and FFA static exhibits as well. I think we're really excited about the return of open class home arts because, you know, 4-H and FFA were off for a year because of the pandemic, but our open class has not been on site since 2016 because when we tore down the old main exhibit hall, we didn't have a place to put our open class home arts exhibit. So we didn't have a ton of them this year, but what we had was wonderful and looked great. And the display that we had in the Wingspan was really pretty and very well done by the person that we contracted to help decorate for us. And it was great. And we're talking about some ways to start getting people interested in bringing that, you know, in participating again. I think it kind of fell off people's radar. It had been a long time. So it used to be that we put it on the website, we put a post on Facebook, and we didn't have to do much more. Well, we're going to have to do a little bit more than that. So Lisa's got some strategies to get the word out about people who are crafting and start saving their items that they're making for the holidays for next year's fair. So we're working on some strategies to really up those entries. I think the thing that was said the most from staff about our successes was the new and improved relationship with our new 4-H staff. So Alan and Deanne, thank you. That made everybody's year good. And it was from across the board, from every staff person and, you know, and the partners and our contractors that we work with, everybody noticed the big difference. So I know we talked about that a few minutes ago, but you're going to hear that from me a lot. We really, really, truly appreciated the partnership with you and Deanne. So thank you. Success is approved availability of goods and services. In 2021, we couldn't get food, we couldn't get equipment, we couldn't get fuel. We could get it all this year, cost more, significantly more, but we, at least it was available. We had an improved layout this year. We did a lot of work on our layout to really try to alleviate the long lines in the food court and the carnival, and that worked out really well. We've got a few more changes to make next year to improve foot traffic, but the layout this year was very much improved. We had improved food and beverage offerings. We had new menu items and some healthier food choices. And you'll see in some stats coming up that that paid off. And while we had less attendees, we made more money in food because we had, I think, what was improved food offerings. The newly developed backyard, formerly the Growing Grove, was the only shady spot on the fairgrounds. So it was very, very well utilized. And what was before very focused on families with very young children, opening up and calling it the backyard made it feel like it was usable for everybody. So we saw adults and seniors and children and everybody enjoying that area in the shade with the games and all the activities just all throughout the day. We still had people playing games at midnight. We were like, okay, time to wrap up the chess game and head to the parking lot. So it was a very popular area. The cooperative efforts between all of our agencies and partnerships in response to the heat wave was a big success. You know, watching, you know, that heat unfold and really hit us really hard, and then having to make some hard decisions on changing hours and operations, and having everybody jump in and assist us with that was a big success. And then I think lastly, we had, you know, our water stations, our free water stations supported to us by partners with City of Hillsborough and the Tualatin Valley Water Commission. And those were huge. Having water that the public could refill their water bottles throughout that, you know, for the people who braved the heat, providing them water was a big success. So that's something that we're counting as a win and looking at doing in the future. So our challenges from a staff perspective, the significant heat was was absolutely brutal, not just from a setup perspective and an operational perspective during the actual fair, but we had to change over barns from open class to 4-H and FFA. I mean, during 3 excruciatingly hot days, you know, Albert and his team and some team from the jail came out and had to clean up the barns and turn over the barns in 105-degree weather. It was brutal. So the heat was really, really hard on the staff. It was hard on the public. It was hard on our partners. It was just a really difficult experience having a 7-day heat wave like that, a historic 7-day heat wave, as a matter of fact. Obviously, our social media was just blown up about the public perception that 4-H horses were excluded this year. You know, we don't really engage with people on social media about why 4-H horse wasn't here, that they, you know, chose to go to Yamhill and that we're working through our problems. So, you know, it's not a good look, and that was very stressful for everybody, and it was a big challenge for us. So we're looking forward to overcoming that in the future. Staffing challenges were big for us, and it was well for our partners as well. Our food vendors could not hardly get staff. We couldn't get staff. Normally we have a good 6 to 8 temporary staff people that work for the maintenance staff during the summer, for the whole summer, for the, to support setup, tear down, and cleanup of the fair. And this year we had 3. And those 3 boys that we had were fantastic, and they worked their butts off in hot weather and with great attitudes, and they plan on coming back next year. But normally we have so many applicants, we have to turn people away. So it was very difficult to not have enough staff this year. And then obviously the cost of goods and services, it affects us, it affects our partners, and it affects the public who attends and you know, buys food, spends money on carnival rides. You know, everything was just more expensive. So that was a challenge. Any question before I move on? Questions, comments?
I just have one question.
Yeah.
My mule, the mule, is that, do you guys still have it, or does Scott Russell have it?
That's a good question. I would assume that Scott Russell has it. I know that we turned everything back over to him the week after the fair. So I'm guessing that it's if it's not with Scott, it's probably in the shop. I can check with Albert.
I'll check with Scott tomorrow.
Okay, perfect. Media recap. Lisa's on the line, and so she can jump in and add things, but Lisa provided a great recap, and I'm just going to go through it very quickly. We still do our traditional broadcast television. As you know, Lisa has been doing our media and marketing for many, many years. And prior to her joining the Washington County team, I think 24 years ago, she worked in the media. So she has always had a really good relationship with those members of our local media. And she also makes them sharpen their pencils and give us really good rates and really good schedules. So we had a great partnership with Channel 2, Channel 6, and then our Univision Spanish language station.
I'm really surprised that Gary and I weren't contacted about an interview about the cows. No.
We'll have to have that next year on the list. Digital advertising is probably the most popular thing. You know, it used to be, you know, Lisa and I were reminiscing recently that we used to do a lot of print advertising, and, you know, we don't do any print advertising. It's now digital advertising. A lot of homepage takeovers for our local broadcast stations, KATU, Univision, and Coin. Lisa talks to me a lot about over-the-top television, or OTT as she calls it, and that's aimed at those of us that have cut the cord. We don't like I don't have traditional TV, so I have cut the cord, and so how they still market to people in that way. Lisa can talk to you all day about geofencing and digital kernels and all sorts of things, about ways that they can digitally track us to get advertising to our phones and our devices, and it works. So if you have questions, Lisa can answer that. Also, lots of great social media posts that were promoted and paid for that spans across Facebook and Instagram. And I do want to just do a quick little shout out. Lisa hired a social media intern this year for the first time, Peyton Ryan, very young. I think she's like 2022. She did a great job, lots of photos and lots of posting on social media. So she did a great job. So good job, Lisa. And then also we have our digital outdoor billboards, like the big giant digital one on Highway 26 to 185th. And those get a lot of impressions. So those are very desirable and hard to come by, but Lisa always manages to get on their schedule. So that's great. And then this year I gave Lisa the challenge to really try to get some extra marketing based upon some census information and really get the word out to the LGBTQ community as well as our BIPOC community. And Lisa worked with our stations and our digital formats and did a really great job. There's an example of one of the advertisements that was used. But I think that for those of you that were at the fair and really paid attention, I think we saw a really big increase, especially in our LGBTQ community attending the fair. So, and our BIPOC community as well. So it was really great to have Lisa really focus on that marketing endeavor, and it paid off. So that's stuff that we'll be continuing to do in the future. And while we're talking about Lisa, I have not told you and she hasn't told you, but we're telling you now that Lisa is retiring August of 2023. So she's got a little bit less than 1 year with us. So she will be one more fair with us. She will do one last hurrah for our marketing media and all that good stuff that she does. And then she will be off to enjoy the next phase of her life. So we really appreciate all that Lisa's done, and we're glad that she's with us for one more year. Any questions on marketing and media? All right. So moving right along to just some stats. So,
Hey, Leah, real quick.
yes, go ahead.
Doesn't the fair board have to vote if Lisa can retire?
You can try.
I'm wondering about that. Gary, what do you think about that? Well, of
Well,
course, you
Leah's told
probably
us
agree.
that we can't retire, so I don't know why Lisa gets to retire. That's
This is
not
the
fair.
first I've heard about it. Let's,
Oh,
yeah. I was the-
I think you guys can vote all you want, but I think she's going regardless.
well, maybe we can bring her back on a contract like we do with Steve.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Yeah, we bring Steve Volstack, and we bring a lot of old retired guys back in. We may as well add a retired gal to the list too, because we bring in Don Hillman and Steve Volstack and actually Dan Larkin, who runs our parking lots. He just retired from HPD. So we've got a lot of retirees doing contract work for us, and they do a great job.
What's that word old?
Oh, hey. Okay, so stats for 22 County Fair. So you've got them there in front of you. Sorry, I'm looking off to the side screen because I don't have them right in front of me. Our attendance was down a little bit. No surprise, we were very, very heat weather affected. So we started out really strong those first couple of days, when attendance was up dramatically on the first Friday and the first Saturday and the first Sunday. I'm like, yeah, we're like knocking it out of the park. And then everything fell apart after that. So the heat hit, and the media, while we love them for the things that they do that are great, when they're telling people to, stay out of the heat and not go out of their homes and stay in the air conditioning. Of course I'm yelling, no, come to the fair. But the heat was very, really did affect our attendance. And when we adjusted hours to, not start till 7 p.m. and stayed open later, we still can only do so many people in such a short period of time on those shorter nights. So, and then on that last Saturday and Sunday, I don't know if any of you were out braving the heat at 2 o'clock in the afternoon like I was with my staff, but it was like having a private fairgrounds. There was very, very few people here. So it was hard. And I know that it was hard on the livestock and the 4-H and FFA kids, and they really did a great job just surviving the heat, doing a good job keeping their animals cool, watching for those that are heat affected, and, watching for themselves as well. So I know Alan worked with the kids and they all did a really great job, but the heat really did affect our attendance. And when we have affected attendance, it affects other things such as carnival revenue. I don't know about you, but I don't think that I would want to get on a hot metal carnival ride in 105-degree weather, but it turns out there's quite a few people that didn't agree to do that as well. So revenue is down for carnival. Commercial vendor revenue is way up. Bob O'Loughlin, who is our new employee here at Westside Commons, he is assigned to doing vendor sales. He was new with us last year on a contract basis, and he's actually now a full-time county employee with us. And he knocked it out of the park. He is a selling machine. He sold booths. He was trying to still sell booths when we were opening. I'm like, there's no booths left to sell. He wanted to create booths. He's like, can we start selling stuff in the lobby? No, we're done selling. So he did a great job, and the numbers reflect that. So great job to Bob on that. Concession revenue, which includes alcohol, is up. Like I mentioned, I think that our improved food offerings, having some healthier choices. I don't know if any of you tried the barbecue kebab that was the big hot seller. They were huge. They had four chicken thighs, a whole onion, like peppers. They were really great, but they were very healthy choice. And there was times where I would try to go buy one and they were sold out, or they would tell me it was a 2-hour line, wait line to get a kebab. I'm like, I'm not waiting 2 hours for a kebab, but other people did. So I think that our improved food offerings and trying to offer a little bit more variety and some healthier choices paid off. Parking revenues down a little bit. No surprise with attendance being down. And then livestock numbers. So our weekend #1 with open class was very successful. We had 50 exhibitors with 740 animals on site, that being open class sheep, goats, and beef cattle. So we are very appreciative to our open class participants. They did a great job, but they had the better weather. Weekend #2 with 4-H and FFA with swine, dairy cattle, beef cattle, sheep, goats, poultry, rabbits, and cavies. We had 168 youth, that's 4-H and FFA combined, with a total of 314 animals, which is a significant improvement over 2021 when we had 79 youth with 85 animals last year. I left the 2019 statistics on there just so you can see we're not too far off. So, we all talk about, what we need to do to rebound. And I know 4-H has not completely recovered, and neither has FFA from the pandemic, but really comparatively, the numbers from 2019 to 2022 are not terribly far off. So while I know Alan and Deanne feel like they've got a lot of work to do, maybe it's not as daunting as you think it might be. Any questions?
Okay, any other old business?
Not
So
for-
Lee, yeah, just one, again, an observation, a comment for the times that I was out at the fair. Yeah, the vendor thing was pretty phenomenal. It was packed in there. But I think what was most noticeable was our Washington County public safety folks. We had a lot of those guys. They were talking to a lot of people. I mean, it was just kind of like they were there, but their presence was certainly, I think, visible and appreciated. So certainly some kudos. I'll be talking to the sheriff and certainly conveying that message, but I think it would be good if we'd also send them a thank you for their support and their visibility at the fair.
Yeah, that's a great comment. Thank you, Jerry. The sheriff and the sheriff's department has always been a great partner for the county fair, and they are always willing to step up and provide great service. So, and I think I always take that for granted because I know they're there and they do a great job and they interact with the community and they really do a great job about keeping us safe. And what you also don't see is the Hillsborough Police Department. They have a strong visibility on the exterior of the fairgrounds. And again, they do a lot of great work for us as well. And they go through a lot of pre-planning together, both agencies, to make sure that the fair is a safe experience for our fair goers. So thanks for the reminder, Gary.
Well, and Gary, it might, I don't know, it might be a good idea if we as the fair board sent both of those organizations a thank you for their presence and commitment to the fair.
Yeah, I would agree. Leah, would you like me to draft something on that?
Yeah, if you want to draft something, that would be great. And I can give you the emails addresses.
Okay.
That'll be
Yeah,
wonderful.
that'll be perfect. Yeah.
Thank you.
And Leah, one other thing, I'm really hoping that you have the what the axe throwing person coming back again next year, you know. Just
So
thinking.
do you want to hear my axe throwing story? So we had the axe throwing booth. Sounds great on paper. Until on the very last day of the fair, where I'm standing next to a sheriff's deputy and we're chatting about, you know, how great the fair's been and how hot it is. And a family member of mine, it's not the one you think it is, it's not, you don't know him, but a family member of mine comes running up to me wielding an axe and says, "Look, Leah, I won an axe at the axe throwing booth." What? The sheriff's deputy looks at me, goes, "They're giving away axes." I'm like, no, we would never allow that. That would violate our weapons policy. But no, sure enough, my brother-in-law is standing there holding a real axe. I confiscate it immediately, which much to his dismay, I did give it back later, not during the fair, but had a conversation with the axe throwing guy who just really did not see the problem with it. He says, "But I put duct tape and bubble wrap over the edge." I'm like, I could peel that off in 5 seconds. And even if I didn't, this thing weighs like 10 pounds. I could clunk somebody over the head with it. So I think the silver lining is that the major fight that we had with some teenagers the night before, none of those kids had gone to the axe throwing booth before they got into a fight. So,
Leah, that story wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I thought you were going to tell us that someone threw an axe at you. But...
well,
We have one other
And I
comment.
thought it was Chuck.
well, yeah, you know, I knew that's what you guys were going to think, but it was not. But the axe throwing guy in the future is going to give them a voucher to pick up a free axe at his restaurant. So,
Hey, one other comment. I got a lot of really positive feedback and thank yous about the Rotary Club lunch out at that we have. Everybody super enjoyed that, Lee. It was phenomenal.
good. You know, that was a great turnout for the Rotary Club meeting. And Alan, thank you for coming presenting and bringing some kids to speak about the Bright program. We've traditionally had a Rotary meeting during the fair, but this one seemed like it was better. More people came than normal.
Yeah, we want to keep it in front of them because we did make a donation again for the auction, and we want to keep getting money in there to help support.
Good. Well, and that's where that's where I made the announcement that the Fair Board needed some help preparing breakfast, and that's where we got a couple of volunteers. So.
Yes.
That was the largest Rotary meeting we've had all year
Really?
in attendance. Yeah.
Good to know. That's great news. Thanks for that update, Bill.
Elia, one comment from my side. I want to thank you and the staff again, like extraordinary fair. And then I think the highlight was also like adjusting the timings based on the state of emergency for the heat morning, that you guys acted so swiftly and quickly, and then we're able to accommodate that, like extending into late into night with all the vendors. So that was like really great. So I appreciate all the efforts.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Any new business?
No new business from me.
Okay, do we have any other matters? County Administrator's Office?
So Rachel Fuller from County Admin was not able to be with us, but I do have a list, and I'm trying to find my list right now of things to bring up. Find it here. Hold on. Hold tight. So a few things, and actually only 2 of them are from a CAO update. But we are getting ready to, when I say we, I mean county administrative staff along with my staff, we are getting ready to do a capital improvement planning kickoff for the West Side Commons and Fairgrounds. So Washington County as a whole is doing a strategic plan update. And as you know, we've already done our master plan for the fairgrounds a couple of years ago. So the county is undertaking a a very large, really involved and in-depth strategic planning effort, and Jerry knows all about that, but our county leadership has been, debriefing us department leaders on that. And it's going to be a really great process, but each individual department is still working on their own processes that are specific to them. And we're just a little bit further ahead than some other departments because we've already got our master plan done. But next step is to create a capital improvement plan and process. So we're going to be working closely with the CAO's office and in partnership with this county-wide process. So that is kicking off soon, and it's pretty exciting. The housing department is going to be using the Cloverleaf building for a shelter again for homeless this year, starting November 1st through what appears to be either the end of March or end of April. We're working out the final details on that. So this will be the third year that that's happening. We are hoping, not hoping, I shouldn't say that, that's the wrong word. We believe that this will probably be the last year. We're hopeful because that, housing is trying to get shelters that are operating year round up and running through the supportive housing bond and program. So they think that this might be the last year. It could be 2 more years that they need the Cloverleaf building, but their goal is to sunset the use of our facility so that then they have permanent shelters in place. So that's kind of the hope there. So, but that will kick off here coming up soon. And housing does rent that facility from us, and they do pay us to use that facility. So that's at least a little bit of income. And then one final note is I applied for a grant through Business Oregon. So the state legislature last year set aside money for fairgrounds to apply for capital improvement projects. And it was very narrow in scope about what they could be used for. It was very much operational improvements for safety and security and various different things on fairgrounds. So we couldn't use it for capital improvement planning. It can't be used for consultants and things like that. Had to be used for an actual improvement on a fairgrounds. So I'm sure you guys don't look at our fencing, our perimeter fencing with the critical eye that I do, but it's falling apart in many places. It's missing in many places. We have temporary fencing in a lot of places of our perimeter fencing. So I applied for a grant for $277,000 to update our perimeter fencing, and we were awarded that grant. So we'll be getting that money in about a year. So you'll start seeing some work. Well, you probably won't start seeing it, but you will see the results of it. My staff is going to start working on preparing documents so we can go out to bid, and then we'll do some contracts. And our goal, we would love to have it done before next year's fair. I don't know that that's going to happen. We would like to get it done before next year's fair, but it's probably not likely. So at the very least, it'll be done soon after next year's fair. So that's some exciting news. We very rarely get people who just give us money to do things to make the fairgrounds better. And our fencing is in dire need to keep the facility safe. So we have events that occur outdoors, and with giant holes in our fencing and parts of it literally falling over. Having replaced fencing is going to be a big deal.
Leah,
Yes.
this is a conversation that is such good news, because this is remember Rod?
Yeah. Rod Rice.
Rob Rice. Rod Rice a long time ago. Fencing was one of the top priorities, and we just couldn't find the money to do it. I can't remember what the number was, but we were going to pretty significantly upgrade the appearance of the fencing. Is this going to include that?
So it is. So back at that time, it was about $1 million, and it was going to be the very decorative wrought iron, solid steel fencing. And it's not going to be that, but it's going to be the decorative black chain link like was put up around the wingspan. So while we got a grant for $277,000, I am putting in probably another $250,000 to $350,000 of fairgrounds money that is set aside for capital improvements as well, to add into that $277,000, so we can get a consistent look throughout the entire perimeter.
Yeah, that'll really improve the outside looking in part of it. So yeah, I would encourage you to certainly spruce that up, and whatever we need to do to make that look a lot better. So good job on that. That's impressive.
yeah, and it's great news. So it's something we can all look forward to, but the staff is really excited to be able to secure the facility. And it will actually reduce our costs during the fair. We rent a lot of fencing during the fair to, keep the public that's on the inside safe. So having permanent fencing that we don't have to rent every year will be a big improvement. And that's all I've got from a county administrative standpoint update. And then like Gary told you, we've got a FAC meeting upcoming that Bill and Gary both sit on the FAC, and then I'll send out your information about your board retreat coming up.
Perfect. All right. Any other questions before we move to oral communication 2? All right. This is the time when the public may address the board again. This opportunity is for, it says 2, but it's 5 minutes per individual. Maximum time is 30 minutes. And anybody wish to address us?
Please raise your hand if you would like to address the board. No takers.
No takers. All right. Next thing, can we get a motion to adjourn?
And make a motion, we adjourn.
All right. We are adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
Good
Okay.
job, all.
Good night.